Welcome, everybody, to the Digital Nomad Experts podcast by Beach Commute. Today, we've got Jeff and Marisa, and we're going to talk about the real secret to getting a fully remote job. Marisa, why is this secret? Why are we talking about this?
It shouldn't be a secret. We're here to break the secret. I wish as a career coach, I wish that everyone knew this secret. But I think, most people assume when you want a job, remote or otherwise, you look at the job postings, you see what's out there, you click, you apply, you get a job, and so on. If you actually ask around and maybe actually think about how you've gotten jobs in the past as well, it's actually pretty rare that someone actually just goes on a job board, finds a random job, clicks and submits their resume into the sea of where the resume abyss, gets an interview and gets a job. Is it input?
Yeah, it's real. That's too real, though. Being on the other side, hiring and seeing like 300 resumes come in one day, that's an abyss.
It's an abyss. And I don't know why. It's like everyone kind of, if you think about probably how you've gotten a job or if you know how friends or family members have gotten jobs, it's usually not through that. But for some reason, we're still convinced that that is the way. And so as Jeff was saying, on the other side, when you receive, if we post a remote job or any job or at anyone who's posting a job, often you get 200, 300, 400, upwards of 1,000 resumes sometimes for job listings. And so I always say, you could be the most qualified, perfect person for that role, submit a fantastic resume, and still not even get an interview because, again, you're a piece of paper, or not even a paper anymore. You're just a digital submission that may or may not even get looked at truly. And if it does, there's a stat that says a lot of times recruiters or people who, hiring managers will only look at a resume for 6.2 seconds. I don't know how someone decided that number, but that's the number. So it's really quick. So all of that to say, today we want to share the real truth behind, if you want a job in general, but specifically here at Beach Commute, we're talking about getting a fully remote job that lets you travel as a digital nomad. What's the secret to both of those combined? So that's why we're talking about it. I'm all fired up again. I love this topic.
Yeah.
Should I just jump right in or anything else before we dive in?
It's weird that this way of thinking has prevailed so long that you just look at job boards, apply, get job. It's this weird thing that keeps getting perpetuated that's not true and it doesn't work. I can't think of any comparison where somebody does something to failure so often, yet it's still the way the people do it. So this is really exciting to get your perspective on this. Because I'm involved in this Beach Commute. This is my life at this point, but you've got such a deep background into career coaching that you've got way more insights and tips that'll really set you apart, put you in the 5 to 10% of applicants. This is a pretty exciting thing to hear. So I'm just going to let you run. I'm going to let you cook.
Yeah. And real quick, so you said, why are people doing this? It's not working. We keep doing it. Why is everyone doing that? And I can tell you oftentimes, not 100% of the time, but I would say 90% of the clients I work with who do this and keep applying, honestly, a lot of people think it's their fault. And then a lot of people start to think, I'm not qualified. My resume is not good enough. You don't have enough experience. And so you start to blame, you don't think the system's broken. You think you're broken. And then that leads to a whole another negative self-cycle, which then you don't feel good about yourself. You feel defeated. And then you actually don't, you give up. You either give up, or if you do somehow get an interview, you come and you don't even think you're qualified because you've been, it's so many rejections. And it's not your fault. So I guess let's start there. If this has happened to you in the past, or whether you have or haven't tried it, that is a broken system. It is not your fault. And we're going to share the secret of what to do instead that works better. So anyway, I think it's an interesting part because I never really fully realized, and I love the emotional and the mindset part of coaching as well, not just here's how to fix your resume. Because I cannot tell you how many clients I've worked with who just have a lot of confidence issues, thinking they're not good enough to get a job. And then you start applying to jobs you're super overqualified, and then you're not even getting those because you're too overqualified. It's a whole weird cycle. So if you're listening, you're qualified, you're good enough, you've got this, and we'll go down the next phase.
Maybe just give it another 2 minutes on that, because I think that really does deserve a little bit more unpacking. My girlfriend's a good example. She's looking at this new position that's open within the organization, and she doesn't match perfectly each one of the qualifications. And so it's there's this mental block that so many people have where they have to perfectly match every one of the requirements before they feel confident to do it. And I told her, if you're not a little bit nervous, if you perfectly match this, then you're not challenging.
Overqualified.
You're overqualified. You're already overqualified, and you're just moving horizontally. You're moving laterally, and you're not progressing, and you're not challenging yourself when you could be.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I like kind of forget that everyone doesn't know this, because I've talked about it so much in general. But there's actually a study, and oftentimes this is a male-female difference, but a lot of people just do this in general.
Very
so there's
true.
a study, there's a study done a long time ago that basically said, like, let's say there's a job posting, and it says, you must be these 10 things of qualifications, experience, number of years, whatever. The study was shown, I can't remember the exact percentages, but males would look at those job postings, and if they were like 50% qualified, they'd be like, hell yeah, I got this. Like, let me apply. I'm qualified. I'm ready. Even though they didn't meet half of the criteria on that list. And on the flip side, oftentimes when females would look at those jobs, if they did not check 100% of those boxes, wouldn't even apply. It's like, I don't want to waste your time. I'm clearly not qualified. Like, they're looking for someone else. Like, why waste my time? Like, I don't want to do that. And so what's interesting is you get a lot of females who just don't apply. And you and I have talked about this many times, like throughout the years of this podcast, which is job listings are kind of like a Build-A-Bear like wish list. I like to think about those as like a semi-accurate wish list of like, if they got 100% of those things, they would be like they couldn't afford to pay the person who really truly meets every one of those requirements. So oftentimes you'll even, this was so infuriating. I remember for like new college graduates, there's roles that will say like entry level, like need 5 years of experience. And you're like, well, which one is it? You can't be, it's like chicken or the egg sort of problem. So anyway, all of that to say, like, if you meet, somewhere between around, I would say 60% is the number I like to use of qualifications, or you're like really close, or maybe you've done something, but it's like a little bit different, but applicable in a different industry, like apply, because you might be the right person for that job. So yeah, that holds a lot of people back as well.
It's a really good point, because I've created a lot of these job listings, and in my mind, I'm doing a Build-A-Bear. I'm creating the perfect
It'd be great
employee,
if it had this. Yeah.
But I'm doing that with the assumption that this candidate is going to grow into this role. I want to see if they have the capabilities to learn these things when I'm interviewing them. I don't expect that they're going to have them all locked in, because, again, as I'm interviewing, if I find somebody that's got all of these things, they've got no room to grow and they're overqualified.
Yeah.
And I already assume a risk, because I hired somebody before that met all qualifications, too good to be true type of scenario. And he was overqualified. He was bored in a month, and he moved on to something else where he had to challenge himself, and he was only partially qualified for that. Yeah.
I feel like we need to be writing these job descriptions differently, and it should say, like, would be nice if you had this much, but like, I'll accept this much. Like, that's like, I like to look at the language and think that, like, oh, it says 7 to 10 years experience. That'd be lovely. But if you have like 3 to 5, like, maybe you're, I would say usually I give it kind of like a 2 year, like if you have 5 years experience, but also if you have transferable skills, if you've done something similar, like it doesn't have to meet exactly. So anyway, that's not even like the secret we're talking about today, but I think those things are so important. So again, once you just know that the system is broken, even if you're seeing jobs that you don't think you're qualified for, like those are definitely still reasons to apply. But even with that, when you're submitting applications for that job, there's still a breakdown, even when you're qualified, that you may and probably won't get. Like, it's just rare that someone truly just gets a job from a random application. And so I want to talk about what to do instead. So the two things I want to talk about, and this is specifically for finding a remote job that lets you live as a digital nomad, that gives you the freedom to move around from country to country each month, or live be free to be in the world wherever you want to be. So the first part of that, finding the real remote job, is actually just finding the companies that truly give you that freedom to travel anywhere. They're really hard to find. And that is like, there are less than 1% of companies, probably far less than that. Like, that's the stat we use, but I would say it's like a fraction of a percentage of companies are truly give you the freedom to travel anywhere while you work. So if you're looking for a job like that, first of all, you've got to find the companies that let you travel in that way. So we've got a resource for that now, just launching this week, I believe, if you're listening, depending on the time of this podcast. But check out beachcommute.com/atlas. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end as well. But it's a resource we have that we have spent years finding all of the truly remote companies. So instead of looking through remote job boards or, looking through everything that you're like, it says remote, but it's not really remote, like that's where you find them. So that's kind of part one. And I actually want to talk about part two, which is again, it's like, all right, now you've got those. A lot of people don't get interviews because when you submit, there's a stat, it might be a little bit outdated at this point, but it's, probably not too far off, that 80% of jobs are gotten not from job listings, things that are potentially never even posted. So again, 20%, when you see those links, you see those remote, whether it's remote or not, when you see those job board links or you see whatever the links are, 50% of them are often fake on job boards. That's a different story for another day, but let's pretend for a second they're real. Usually only about 20% of people get jobs through those traditional job postings. So you might be thinking like, where are the other 80% coming from? And maybe it's a little less than that now. I think that stat was done like when things weren't quite as digital and it was harder to like find listings and things like that. But it's probably, I would say, upwards of 50% of jobs are never even posted. So when I think about even people we've hired at Beach Commute to work with us, sometimes people have already reached out to us. We were hiring a bunch of different writers and some outreach specialists for a program we did last year. And I think we hired 4 or 5 people that came, Jeff, through what we call weak ties, which are like, someone through someone. So you had a colleague you used to work with who connected us with a bunch of different people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So when you think about those on the flip side, like those people got these jobs with us simply like we never posted a role. We never posted a link. We just were like, do you know someone? Great. Like I trust that you know the right people. And so that's happening a lot. A lot of people, and we've hired several different roles like that where it's like we need someone and we have a friend, like, do you know anyone? Do you know anyone? Or maybe it's someone we've talked to before and we don't even post it because we know the right person. Or it's like they call it through weak tie connection. So call it somewhere between 50 to 80%. That's a huge chunk of jobs people get. So you would get through what are called weak tie connection. So it's mostly not your mom's sister. It's mostly not your best friend. It's like, oh, I had this colleague who I used to work with who connected me with this person. Oh, it's a friend of a friend. It's actually this like random person I met in Thailand happened to know the right person. So those are truly like a lot of times how you get remote jobs or jobs in general. And with that, the next step you can do, you might say, well, I don't know anyone who works these like remote companies that you're sharing. So the next thing to do is you create your own weak ties with people. You get to know people at the company. And it's really important. There's an art and a science to this, which I'll talk about another day because people don't always do this correctly. But when you have, and this is why we felt so passionate about not just sending out listings, about now giving you like all the remote companies, the fully remote companies, so you can see the ones you like and start reaching out. So you go on LinkedIn, find the people who work at those companies. They're all listed beautifully. Like that is where LinkedIn actually is really helpful, not to apply to jobs, not to find remote jobs. Those comes with all sorts of like restrictions and a lot of them are fake. But when you when you look at the companies that we provide, that we've already vetted and researched, and then you see like, oh my gosh, like I just found 6 companies that I would, maybe you'd love to work at, like that you love the industry, the culture seems cool. What you want to do then is go on LinkedIn, find real people who work there, reach out to them. And these are a lot of steps. It's not always easy, but this is the way it works. And start to talk to them, get to know them. Or maybe you see on LinkedIn that you know a friend of a friend or a second or third connection, and you ask them to make an introduction. So all of this to say, like the real secret, if you want a fully remote job that lets you travel, is to find the companies that let you travel, find the ones you like, and make connections at them. So that there's going to be 2 ways you'll get a job from that. One is they might be hiring in that moment. And then so just think about the difference. We talked about, let's say you're hiring, Jeff, like your company is hiring. And we've just talked about, let's say I'm perfectly qualified for the role and I've submitted my resume online. I'm so excited if that role even exists online. And you don't even see my resume, or you see it and it doesn't stand out because it's my personality that stands out, or something else just looks cool, or you don't even get to that, 300th job in the resume pile. But the difference is, let's say I had talked to someone else at your company and just like gotten to know them and asked about how they got to where they are and just had a good conversation. And there's, again, an art and a science to reaching out and to getting those conversations. But then when you're looking, let's say you're ready to hire a certain role and you're asking around your team, does anybody know a person who'd be good at this? That person on your team would say, oh my gosh, I just talked to Marisa. She was awesome. She actually does exactly this. Like, you've got to interview her. Or even if there is an actual job posted and you see that, you can then reach back out to that person and say, hey, I just saw this role was posted. I see so-and-so is a hiring manager. Do you know who the hiring manager is? Can you give them my resume? And so they're going to be likely to trust that that's someone they should talk to, listen to, interview. That was a lot of things I just covered. I don't know, Jeff, if you want to share kind of like what you heard from that or sort of like a takeaway. If someone's listening, I was like, wait, that was a lot of things you guys just talked about. Like, what's this? How would you sort of like simplify all of that?
Yeah, I'd probably just flip the tables from the hiring manager perspective.
Yeah.
If you think about what goes into hiring people, a lot of times you don't have, like in my instance, you didn't have somebody that was vetting candidates. You didn't have anybody screening. And a lot of small teams don't have. So it's on the hiring manager, me, the director, or the CMO or whatever, to go through and do all of this work to screen through all of these hundreds and hundreds of candidates.
Yeah.
And we have to do that's not our day job. We have to do that on top of our job. So anytime we have to hire, it's a ton of work on top of your normal day job. And it's just, you don't want to do it. You want the perfect candidate. You don't want to go through all the work. So what are you going to do? You're going to rely on your personal network and trust. A lot of it comes down to, who do you trust to recommend somebody? So you need to get into somehow that network of trust of people that has some sort of familiarity. Because when I'm going through all of these CVs, all of these cover letters, there's no familiarity. And it's really, really hard to sell somebody through just a digital piece of paper. It's just, it doesn't translate the same way. There's a lot of things that you can do, and you might talk about that, I don't know, to stand out when you're just doing that. But 9 times out of 10, I just want to rely on somebody to trust somebody, right? It's just, it makes my job easier. It makes me more comfortable. It makes me more confident in the candidate. And that's generally the way I'm going to hire. And that's if I've listed it. Like, if I don't even want to list it, I'm just going to go directly to the people that I know, the people within the company that know other people there. So from my perspective, 100% true. Just get it. You have to get into those. You have to get into those circles of trust.
Yeah, I love that. And it makes so much sense when you think about it from the other end. And it's interesting. I was trying to research to see if that 80% number was still accurate. The article I was reading, it was actually really interesting. It said it's probably maybe even if it's 50-50, like you still need to be applying to things, but also making connections when you're applying and trying to get your foot in the door to get noticed in a different way. Again, just like send an email to people at the company. That's like, so many people don't even take the time to do that you're going to stand out. Some people will we interviewed someone on our podcast, a digital nomad friend of mine, who said he used to like make YouTube, or like he would like record a video of himself. He's got like a fun personality. So this way worked for him. Maybe if you're a great writer, you write a beautiful email, like whatever is your forte. For him, he had a great, like, fun, bubbly personality. So he would make a video. He posted on YouTube and sent it to the company. And he said by the next morning, I think so, they had like sent it around the company because it was so unique. He was like, it had like 45 views by the next day. And he was like, I can see people are looking, and he got the job. So I'm not saying you have to like make a video for every single one. But the point is, find ways to get to know people, stand out, or just send them an email on top of the application you've already sent. Like, that's going to go above and beyond. And just get to know people in general at the companies you're most excited about, because when the job is then ready, they're going to go to you. And so what I meant to say with the article that I was reading before this, on top of like arguing about what percentage actually is or isn't like gotten through actual listings, he said, the author of it basically was like, well, why would a company not list it? And at first I was like, yeah, good point. But there's actually a couple of reasons. One, it costs money for companies to post listings. So a lot of the companies that we have listed on our database are kind of cool, funky, smaller companies that are like awesome to work for, but they might not be paying thousands of dollars to post it on every single, remote job board that you're seeing. So that's number one. And number two, as you just said, like some of these small, like we're talking just like not Google sizes, but like it could be a couple hundred, a couple thousand people at these companies or 50, who knows? It's not their full-time job as the hiring manager. Like they might be a marketing specialist or like a graphic designer, or they might be a software engineer, but they have to hire someone from their team and it takes that added work. So instead of, like you said, posting a job and getting 100, 200, 3,000 resumes, whatever, they're going to ask around and already find someone who's like, oh, you know someone good? You used to work with this person? You have a friend of a friend that sounds good? Send them my way, because that's going to take less time and energy. So that's another reason why jobs are not necessarily posted from like the employer's point of view. So anyway, I guess just to sort of bring it home, all of this said is, yes, sometimes listings are great and sometimes they will pan out. But I would say even if you have a listing, so like even when you join the Anywhere Atlas with us, we're going to still send, like when we see live jobs and we see things that actually do get posted, because some people do get jobs through those for sure. We still recommend going above and beyond, writing an email to them, get to know people at that company, let them know like really why you're interested in that company. And in the meantime, when you look at our list of all these remote companies, truly, Jeff, what was the phrase you said, Jeff? Stalk the companies, not the listings.
Chase companies, not listings. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, we took it to stalk. Chase the companies. Don't stalk them. Like wink. Do maybe stalk a little bit.
You know.
minor, nice stalking. Some light. We'll call it light stalking. But yeah, we say chase the companies. But like when you can browse through all of these companies that we've found, one of the things as a career coach that I love helping people with is like, don't just apply anywhere. Like when you find the companies that, like, let's say you are obsessed with animals. If you find like a pet company that is like doing cool things with animals, like how much more excited are you going to be to show up at your job, to talk to people, to talk to the people who work there and also love pets and animals? Like find the companies that, like, maybe you're really into mental health and you see a company that's helping people with mental health. Like when you go into this database, you can search by industry and see like these 5 companies like would just be they seem so cool. And so few people really do go above and beyond to reach out to people there, to get to know them, and they're going to feel it back and forth.
It never happens. Like
it's so rare.
It did occasionally.
It happens,
when I would post a listing, occasionally somebody would reach out to me on LinkedIn, like, hey, I see you're posting this thing. I'd like to chat with you directly or get a few details. Like, oh, okay, you stand out. Nobody else did that. I want to see somebody. I can teach people damn near anything they need to do, but I can't teach them to be hungry for a job or to be enthusiastic
and to love the mission of the company and what
you're
doing.
You stand out. I've got a good example here. So one of the ones on the list, Meowtel.
Yeah.
Did you see that one? They're
the company on a database.
I don't know if that's pronounced right. MEOWTEL. Super cool company. They help people find cat sitters. It's great. And when you go to the careers page, they've got everything. Like they absolutely love cats. They talk about, how great it is to work there. I like this example because they actually don't have any live listings right now.
Yeah.
So this is a really, really good opportunity to light stalk the company.
Lightly stalk and get to know.
Yeah, get to know them. Like, hey, look, I see you. I message one of them. Say, I've been following you guys for a while. I read XYZ blog posts. Love cats.
Yes.
I see you've got no current job listings, but I really, really like you guys. I'm going to follow you, and I'm going to check in on that careers board as things come up. And check on it every week. Something pops up that you like, then you strike. And you've already got a soft tie, and then you're ready. So it's kind of like, it's like buying stock in a company and then like striking right when everything pops.
Yeah, I love that. That's a perfect example. I love that. So Meowtail, I didn't know that was the name of one. I remember seeing that logo on there.
Yeah.
But like that's just one of the companies that are on this database. So we have over 350 and we'll be continuing to grow every single week. We're adding new companies to this list. So if you're looking for those fully remote companies, maybe if you love cats, you got the one to go stalk now. But there's probably a couple of them. So I keep saying stalk. That's really not the right word. But you know what I mean. Get to know the people.
Get to know them.
Get to know the real people who work there. Send them a message. Let them know, like, hey, this is what I do. If you're ever looking for someone who works in copywriting, if you're ever looking for someone for a project manager, like whatever it is that you do, let them know, because I keep those in my mind. People reach out to us all the time, and then who knows? It might be 2 weeks later, it might be 2 months later, it might be a year later, and I'm like, oh my God, Jeff, we're looking for this role. This person reached out to us. I know they're perfect, and I will go back and find that person. So all of that to say, we hope that this helped you to understand, like, this is the real secret to getting any job in general, is to really get to know people at those companies. So whether it's a live listing or it doesn't exist, you're top of mind and can get your foot in the door and not just be like a piece of, not again, like a digital resume on a computer that someone doesn't want to look through. And then to layer on top of that, if you know that you want to have the freedom to travel the world, live as a digital nomad, be in your country, be in a different country next month, go visit family somewhere else another month, definitely join the Anywhere Atlas. That's the name of our database that has over 350 remote companies. It's just like, we're just launching it live this week, probably, if you're listening to this episode. If you're listening to this later, it'll be live. It'll probably be more companies than that by then. But check out, again, beachcommute.com/atlas. It truly is like the most fantastic place to start to find, like, look through those companies, find the ones that you like, find the ones that excite you, that truly you'd be like excited. If you're the cat person, go reach out to the cat company. There's lots of other examples on there, but if you're into crypto, there's crypto companies on there. If you're into healthcare, there's healthcare companies on there. Like, you name it, that industry is probably there. And go above and beyond. Be the person that, like Jeff, sent that linked email, the LinkedIn message, or an email. I always recommend email if you can find their personal information. It's just like one step closer. But to me, like, that's the real secret. Like, make those weak tie connections, or even just like find the friend of a friend who works there and connect them, and so on. So I feel like we threw a lot out there. I know it's not the sexiest topic. Not everybody wants to hear this, but if you're looking for a remote job, like, that's how to do it. That's what we recommend. That's how I have seen it work time and time again.
It's a little bit more work for sure. And that is a little unappealing to some people. But when you think about your hit rate, what it's actually going to be, it might feel more productive to send out 100 resumes a day. It might feel like you're doing more, but you're not working smarter. Your hit rate's going to be really, really low. Whereas take that down to 5 companies. Go through this list, find 5 companies that you really like, make those weak ties, and then strike when the opportunity hits, right? Yeah. And as you go through this list, like Marisa said, look for stuff that interests you. Follow the companies that really seem cool. And each one of these companies that you go through and you go through to the career page, you're going to find awesome language that you're looking for. Like, for example, this Meowtel one. First thing on the list here, we're a remote first team, work from where you're most comfortable. Like, all of these companies are going to have that amazing language that you're looking for, and they're going to be really cool companies to work for. So again, this is kind of a fun thing because you're not just firing out at random companies that match kind of what you do. You're following companies that actually interest you, that are super, super cool. So you're going through these things, and you'll be like, this is a place I want to work. And that's a better perspective to take, is this is a place I want to work. Let's invest some time into getting into this company, as opposed to just chasing these job leads.
Yeah. And I want to say, like, I think exactly what you said, where it seems sometimes like way more productive. You're like, I sent out 100 applications today. I submitted my resume to everything. But it's like there's a marketing phrase that applies here. It's like, when you talk to everyone, you talk to no one. So you're going to send 100 resume outs. And so to you, it might feel like, I was so productive. I've got 100 chances, but like none of them are really going to work out because no one's going to see or know you in any personal way. But when you pinpoint 5 companies, I like to think about it like, imagine you threw spaghetti at the wall. That's like the old way. Versus like walking up to the wall and like circling 5 specific companies. And like, those are the ones that you reach out to. And that's probably going to be one of the one that pans out. So it feels kind of anti-intuitive. It feels like you're doing less like productivity. It feels a little scarier because your eggs aren't in as many baskets. But like, you can carry those eggs and you can follow up with those eggs. You could talk to those eggs. So like, really, that's what I truly recommend.
It's kind of like marketing nurture. You just gotta nurture these ties, and then get in when the time is right. Yeah.
Yes. So with that, check out beachcommute.com/atlas. We'd love for you to join this wonderful database that is searchable, and you can, filterable, I should say. You can filter by industry. You can look at all the company perks and the company description. Like, you can browse really easily. So imagine a job board. You just like see all these listings. You don't know, like really, it's like you might see a company name and a job, but you don't know what they do or who they are. We've created this in a way for you to be able to really find those companies you love easily. So you can browse through and see very quickly, like, what does this company do? Like, what is their mission? What are their perks? Like, what do they stand for? And you'll know very quickly, like, which are those ones you want to lightly, politely stalk.
That's what we wanted at the beginning of this episode. Lightly, politely stalk.
Lightly,
Yes.
politely
Very,
stalk.
very, very accurate. That's exactly what you want to do.
Yes. So with that, we hope this was helpful and bringing it full circle to the beginning. If you've applied to a bunch in the past, it is not your fault. Do not feel defeated. Like it's not that you are not worthy or capable or qualified. You've just been working with a broken system, and highly recommend to do it this way. And again, if you're looking to travel, this is the best resource. Like, it just doesn't exist in terms of finding companies that let you travel anywhere in the world, not just remote from your home with restrictions.
And for the female job seekers out there, do check out that article that Marisa was referencing. It's called The Confidence Gap. It was written by The Atlantic. It's a really good piece to kind of understand this cultural approach that males and females have in applying for jobs. And I think in the conclusion of that, you will build some confidence and a little bit more understanding as to why it is that you're not applying for jobs and the fact that you should apply for those jobs. And even employers are like, yeah, please apply for these jobs. We are looking for you. So yeah, check that out. It's The Atlantic, The Confidence Gap.
I love that you know that off the top of your head. Because I
It's a
feel like
great
we've talked
article.
about that
It's a
several
really,
times
really
throughout
good
the
study.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got this. It's possible. You can do it. These companies exist. These jobs do exist. Sometimes they're posted. Sometimes they're not. Lightly, politely stalk. I feel like that's our takeaway. Those are the steps. And with that, we hope that you enjoyed this episode. We'll be back next week with something fun. We'll see you then.